All right, this is Group 43's Sprint 3 for the spring semester, Sprint 8 in total artifact. Our goal this sprint was to finalize security and integrate core OCR functionality with the front end. Very successful sprint. We now have security complete and pretty much all functional components are now part of the code base. So going forward, the focus will be more on making improvements to deliver a solid product. And we'll probably need to see if there are any additional features our sponsor may want to. So let's start taking a look at security. In the past sprints, we've developed token generation, token management, authentication middleware for our API calls, and authentication context. These pieces were all developed separately with one goal in mind, and this sprint worked on integrating it all together. Doesn't quite do all the work that was done this sprint justice, but we'll just show you how it works using a sponsor's login. The password's 1234, but we'll put an incorrect password in to see that we can't gain access to the app. Now if we correct the password, we can now have access to the app using all the authentication methods mentioned before. Another piece of the sprint was the integration of the OCR process. In the past, we've been able to upload files. We've created the OCR process separately and tested it, but now it's putting the OCR process in when a file is uploaded, so we can pick a file, give it a description, upload it, gets feedback. If we go to the review page that has the documents that are pending or approved, we can then see the file we have uploaded. If we click it, it will then bring us to the details page, which another thing that was implemented this round was a link to get the document back. So then we can see what was on the document. Another piece that was implemented as well was taking the read results and then displaying them in this details page. So there are 2 lines that were read. Piece that hasn't quite been implemented yet is what we call categorization, which is taking like the bad receipt description that it's hard to read, then identifying it as like ground beef, or saying its unit of measure is per pound, and that it belongs in a category called meat. And then we can, so that's not implemented yet, but the details to show what has been read is implemented. And then also from a user's perspective, they can come in, read the results, and then say, OCR didn't quite read it right, and they'll be able to update it. Or they could say, hey, this line isn't on there. The OCR completely read that incorrectly. They could delete it, and they could say OCR missed a line and add some rows and fill in the details and save the quantity as well, save the values as well. And finally, they could come up here and click approve, which on the back end, it doesn't show it here, but on the back end it approves it, which will then help like integrate it to other places where they see things as aggregate and they say, oh, hey, it's approved, so this data is legit. Or they could say, hey, it's not approved. And then they can also flip to other documents and see details and do the same thing as well. Finally, what I want to demonstrate is, in the past, we've seen that we always have to start a front-end server and then a back-end server. We'll leave the back-end server running, but we'll cancel the front end. And on the front end, we can run this command that generates this distribution folder. And if we take this distribution folder and host it in our backend, when we start our backend, we no longer need to start our front end when we're in a production environment. When we're doing development, we'll always need to have the 2 separate instances, but when we're in production, you can see through our URL here, localhost 3000, that's our backend server, we can now access the app with static files by just hosting it in our backend. So now that sets us up for success with handing it off to the sponsor or setting it up for our sponsor. They provided us an AWS instance, so we'll just need to install a few things on there and get it ready. But then once we clone the repo to the AWS instance, we'll just need to really start our database service and then start our back end, and as long as the ports and firewalls are open, we should be able to access the website. And just to confirm, this was running on 8081, just so you can see how it was different. But then when it's hosted on the back end, we can see that it's just hosted on host 3000. But yeah, no, everything went well this sprint, and a pretty good step forward. Thank you.